So you mentioned that it was really important to you that people tell their own story and reach out to their elected officials. Why do you think it's important that people with disabilities are speaking for themselves on these issues?
It's very important because it's basically your story that you want to tell, and like different. And a lot of times, I would say this for myself. A lot of times, I feel like we don't speak up enough for our stories to be heard, to get the resources that we need in order to be more proficient in with our lives and more accessible.
And do you think that, maybe a lot of the times people with disabilities could be overlooked if they don't feel empowered to tell their story?
Hmm.
This is a great question in the chat for you, Michael.
Hmm.
So, if someone is trying to build up their pride, what are some resources that you have or some thoughts you have about how to be more prideful of disabilities? So, maybe how do you use this in your own life, or how would you advise that other people become more prideful of their disabilities in their
I
community?
mostly tell I basically like go on social media and use it as my platform to embrace Disability Pride Month. I know like the beginning of July 1st, I put my put pictures and in my posts on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Well, it's not called Twitter, it's called X. Uh, but yeah, I basically just put that out there just to make sure that everyone is aware of my story. Most of the time, I don't like to tell the story about my disability because I feel like people will take that as an advantage. But now that me being older, I'm just like, okay, let them know about it because a lot of times people, and I say this for my community, the Black community, they don't know about Disability Pride Month, and that is something that we have to make sure that we spread the news, regardless of what community is, or just race, sexuality, gender, religion, whatever. We just have to spread the awareness of it. Good question, because it took me a long time to accept and be proud of my disability. Because 9 times out of 10, I didn't. Because let me tell you this: if you are that person that doesn't feel proud of who you are, trust me, believe I can understand. Because when I was little, I was in a special ed classroom. Uh, 50, I think it was 20%, 80% of the time in a special ed classroom, 20% in a gen ed classroom. Then when third grade hit, I was in a gen ed classroom mostly 80% of the time, and then I was in resource and speech 20% of the time. So, and it was kind of embarrassing at the time, especially going through elementary, middle school, and high school. It was more embarrassing because you have like support teachers assistant trying to make sure that you're doing what you need to do and all that jazz. And oof, oof. And then college hit, then it was it was just like, okay, now I'm in like I feel normal. I feel like I don't need to be getting the resources. And it so for me, I would say to that person, and I would say to the old Michael, like just accept help from yeah, whether if it's a teacher, teacher assistant, your friends, or your parents, be okay with just being okay that you have this disability because it makes you special, not in a way where people will see you brighten up even more, just like a caterpillar. When you in your shell and then you grow up into this beautiful butterfly. You will grow into a beautiful butterfly soon. So
Yeah, yeah. So spreading awareness, and it sounded like you personally use social media to connect with others, um and sharing your story you mentioned. So maybe working on building community and yeah, that's really great. Some people may want to tell their story publicly and others may have more of a private relationship with
yeah,
their own experience. Yeah.